Hi, mindful folk and meditators. Happy New Year. And I'm just going to talk briefly, if I can, about the theme for this month, for January. And it's just such a cultural thing that when the new year starts, we think about partly reflecting back on what happened the previous year, but perhaps more so investing in the person we're going to be in 2021 in the new year. We're all fed these statistics that say New Year's resolutions are wasted, and lots of focus on exercise and diet as the big things that people try to change during January. There's other things that become more familiar, like becoming a vegan for a month or not drinking for a month. But certainly, historically, this idea that we get fit and that we change what we eat are really big things. So we're often drawn to those as our own intentions, or we're part of a particular community. So I'm part of a running community, so I know what runners start to think about, what they're going to do for the rest of the year. Some people would have done that earlier. Some people are very organized and they would have planned their whole year of races or their big challenges or goals. So again, if you're in a particular community, you may have a particular focus on what you might achieve. I suppose the first thing I want to really say is don't be disheartened by all this statistics, and don't necessarily be brought into the changes that you're supposed to make. So it can be helpful. It really can be helpful if you go for one of those big things, because lots of the people are doing it. So it might be that a friend's also not drinking for that month, or choosing to eat differently, or whatever it is. So there can be advantages to hooking on to those very familiar changes and going with the community. But if you're doing that kind of in isolation because there is some sort of expectation that that's what people should be doing, we should be healthier or fitter, and that we should be thinner, if that is what the diet does, then maybe that's not the route to happiness. So just really having to think about what's your thing. Is there a thing? Is actually January not the time for you? Is this January not the time for you to start to make changes, recognizing that there's never a right time? I don't know if you've noticed that, that there's always an opportunity to put something off till the right time, and maybe the right time doesn't actually ever arrive. So it may genuinely be just not good for the moment, because there's lots going on in your life, there's lots of demands, and actually your space to kind of reflect and to plan is just going to be so tricky and so stressful added on, that maybe it's just not the right time. But generally, it's always the right time to perhaps think what's going to make things different and more positive for your life, and what's genuine for you. And that might be really different from dieting, giving up alcohol and getting fitter. It might be having more quiet time, although it might be trickier during this particular time of lockdown. But that's just an example. Or it might actually be doing more. What can I do that actually fills more of the space, because actually you're bored, or you're just feeling less stimulated or less part of something. So it might be, well, something I'm quite interested in, that I've just not given it the time for. And maybe I could just do a course online, or I could buy a book, or, it could be quite simple. It's defining something that has enough of a pull to say, yeah, I think I want to go with this, and finding where that's going to go. So some people, really, that's all they need. They need a little bit of inspiration, and there's a little bit of a thread, and they're pulled, and they start the first step, looking up for a course or finding a book, and that then delivers something else, because it's fueled by inspiration. It's fueled by somehow feeling good about yourself, somehow feeling more fulfilled about yourself. You're probably going to be onto a winner. Yeah. If it is these potentially more complicated things, which are about giving things up, not doing, and particularly if they're led by someone else, which might be the voice in your head, for example, saying this is something you need to do, you should be doing, might not be the place to start. If it's genuinely like a big thing that's going to, if you don't do it, it's going to create some real negative impact, then maybe you just need to be brave, still yourself, and actually find ways of finding support to step on that first rung of the ladder to do it. Yeah. So there's different approaches. I do like to think about something, and I can say it's quite cultural. I have an energy in January. Some people now are struggling to get up and are struggling to kind of function really well because they're tired. It's dark times. But for whatever reason, my body says, no, you're heading for the light. The big festival, which wasn't a big festival, I guess, has moved on. The light's there. The kind of starkness of January, it's often, the trees are bare now. You can't see anything else but the starkness of the tree trunk and the branches. You can't help see more sky, whether that be cloudy sky, rainy sky, snowy sky, or blue sky, and plants are beginning to start to. They're still quiet, but they're probably beginning to start. Some of them are starting to stir. You'll see bulbs around. I've seen some daffodils around, shockingly. So life and energy is coming back. So for me, this is my month of starting feeling quite vital. Don't know how long it'll last. But so with that energy, there is a prospect of building on that vitality. And that idea of vitality, what stirs you? What makes you think there's something positive I want to aim for? So even if it is something around changing your diet, rather than it's something, I've got to cut out cake or whatever, it's maybe I've got to introduce more fruit. It's much more positive. Crowd out the cake for a little while with fruit that you really, really like and that's really good quality, and introduce that. That's just a really brief example, as if you need to do that kind of thing that's actually going to be good for you and good for your health. But it might just be, how might I feel more energized? How might I feel more vital? How might I feel more present to everything? Yeah. And those steps, there are just a myriad of things you can do to feel more vital, to feel more energy, to feel more connected or more present. And obviously, you guess where I'm going here, don't you? Obviously, mindfulness or meditation is one continuing route that we might go through. Yeah. And what every person, I think, feels who's doing mindfulness or meditation or yoga or a practice, is there's going to be days you really can't be bothered. You really don't want to. And if you can do a little bit, then that's great. So sometimes I don't want to meditate, but I'm quite happy going for a walk, or I don't want to go outside for whatever reason, which is pretty rare. So I might do some yoga indoors. So for me, I kind of have kind of an array of options, which makes that's the sort of person I am. I quite like, what can I do to make myself feel good today? And it will certainly involve a mindful moment. It will certainly involve movement. It will generally involve being outside. It's very rare that I'm not, but I'm very lucky. But some days I won't. The goal might be big and overarching. So what are the steps towards it? What's the step today? And what's the smallest step that I can make if things are not kind of right? What happens if I don't make it? What could I do? So like if I say I'm going to meditate first thing in the morning, what happens if I don't meditate first thing in the morning? Would there be actually just before lunch? Would there be just after lunch? Would there be at the end of the working day, or just before I have my tea? Would there be when I go to bed? So there are ways around the not doing by slightly making it realistic for your particular day. So please join me on a month for setting intentions, whether that's for the day, whether that's for your life, whether it's for the next month or whatever it is. So hopefully you find something that inspires, that's interesting, that you can make real, and that you can feel good about. So I'll leave it on that really upbeat note, and I will see you on the seat, as it were, on Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock, if you're able to make it. So thanks for listening, and see you perhaps on Wednesday. Thank you.